What's up everybody? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from all of us here at boostgumps, all two of us. So I'm just about to go away for Christmas, sort of on a bit of a break, and realised that I don't really have any content to post throughout the break. So I just wanted to make a quick video saying a Happy Christmas and a Merry New Year to all of yous who tune in. We appreciate all of yous. It's been a wild year. I've already made enough year in review videos, so I'm not going to keep yapping on about it, but thank you all for tuning in throughout the year. It's been great. We're really looking forward to 2022. We've got some really cool stuff lined up. So I figured to sort of fill in this video, apart from saying Merry Christmas, is just go through sort of what's going to be happening on our Christmas break or our time off. You guys know us. You guys know we don't really take time off. All it means is that we don't answer the phone for a little while so that we can actually get some stuff done and do some of our own stuff and some stuff we've been meaning to catch up on for a long time. So we'll go through what actually is going to happen. First things first is I'm looking at sorting out a new daily for the new year, going into 22, finding a new daily car. I've got one here. I'll go through that with you. So as you might have seen, I did make a video on it a little while ago. For a little while I was dailying the BA XR6 Turbo, which belongs to Rex. So this I had sort of inherited for a little while, and it was going to become my daily, and I talked about how I sort of wanted it to be a bit of a flagship for the channel. I was going to try and use it to try and gain some sponsors and sort of build the car up and go that way with it. I dailied it for a little while and that was all good, but the way that was all meant to work was sort of on the backbone of the shop ute actually getting completed so that Rex could daily that, the old HX tonner here. So as these guys have seen, or not seen by the fact that you haven't seen it for a little while, the poor old HX sort of just didn't quite get there as far as just time constraints and monetary constraints. We just haven't really had the time to finish it off, has been the big problem. So because it was taking so long to get it sorted and get it finished, sort of got to a point where Rex sort of needed a daily. He needed a car, so he sort of just took the Falcon back. That's what we worked out, so that we weren't really rushed to try and push to finish this off. So that's where it's ended up. It will be receiving a little bit of love over the break. So one of the issues we had with the yellow ute is we threw this LS1 together out of just spare parts. A lot of you who watched the videos would have seen. It was just like a spare parts throw together ganger ass build. And we put on a pair of 853 heads, which are the very, very early style. They have a bit of a step in the casting for the bottom. And we had read a fair few places that you couldn't use the 853 casting with MLS head gaskets, and we always sort of thought, why the hell not? They still have plenty of meat around the head to seal, but they have created an issue and they are leaking water, which I'll go through. I'll go inside the engine room and show you exactly what's going on there. So anyway, the fact is that you cannot use a stock 853 head casting with the MLS GM gaskets. So the 853 was an early casting. Back when they were using these castings, they were using composite head gaskets. They weren't using MLS head gaskets, and when you use the GM MLS head gaskets, they don't seal water. So I'll show you that in a minute. But the fact is, this thing needs a new pair of heads. So we need to put some 241s on this thing, which are the later casting in the LS1. So they went to the 241, I think around late VT, VX. It was only the very, very early VTs that had the 853s. So yeah, we've got some new heads for these. I'll go through that in a minute. All right, so out here in the stock room, I'll show you the difference. So this is a 241 head, and as you can see on the face of the head, it's completely flat. Obviously this is still covered in gasket crap and crap all over it, but it's a completely flat head. Now this is not actually an 853. This is a perimeter bolt head, as you can see, off an iron block from it, like truck engine from the States. But they're essentially the same casting as an 853 here in Australia. And as you can see down here, they have this little notch. And as you can see, from that to the cylinder, still heaps of area there for it to actually clamp down. Looking at that, you'd wonder why the hell it wouldn't seal with MLS head gasket. It doesn't really make any sense. However, it does create an issue on the gaskets. So grab some gaskets here for you. I'm gonna have to open these and sacrifice them to show you what I mean, but that's alright, because they will get used by us. So as you can see by the design of the gasket versus the head where that notch is, even though the actual multi-layer steel has plenty of room for that to clamp down, this little strip is actually what seals the multi-layer steel gaskets together. And because it falls outside of this little notch, it does actually leak water from this water passage out of there. So that water passage is about here on the gasket, and between where that notch is around there, it can actually leak. And we are finding that ute with these heads on it, once it gets hot and actually pressurizes the cooling system, it is leaking out this water passage. So it has been an issue, and I do have to apologize. The drift motor that I built for the R31, we did the same thing. We put 853 heads on it because we had the same sort of idea. Didn't think it would be an issue. Plus, when we built that engine, obviously we intended to be using it ourselves. I never intended to sell that at the time, so we decided to test it out on that engine, which I did end up actually selling, and I can't find the guy's details, can't remember who he was, but I did sell that to a bloke, and he's going to have the same issue, and I do have to apologize if he's watching this. Please get in contact with us. I had no idea that it was going to be an issue, and yeah, can't apologize enough. But anyway, regardless, the ute needs to be sorted out because that's going to be a problem, and I'll show you that's going to be happening over the break. And I'll show you what we've got. So we've got this pair of 241s, which I actually bought from a bloke that calls himself Broomstick Factory. He's in Brisbane now, so he had a LS1 powered Zafiro, which the engine let go after a few laps at QR, and he decided he wasn't going to put another LS in it, so I managed to score a heap of stuff off him. So these are 241 casting, as you can see. They are, for one, a better flowing head than the 853. Which is awesome, and these already have dual springs. So if you guys remember, because of when we put that engine together, we were planning to go 4L60 in that tonner. We sort of just used all of the second-hand parts that we had lying around, which included the single springs that we had, which we figured we'd never really use for anything else. So at the time, because it was going in front of a 4L60, we figured it was only going to be maybe 500 horsepower anyway. We figured the single springs would be enough. It's our motor, it's our risk, singles would be fine. However, now that things have changed and we ended up going turbo 400, there's no reason that we can't make a lot more power out of that thing. And we figured that these would be perfect because they've already fitted with double springs, 241, so they'll just be able to swap them straight out for the heads that are on it, and it's a huge upgrade all round. And the icing on the cake is that these heads actually came with ARP head bolts. So we actually used second-hand torque to yield stock GM bolts for the yellow one. Again, at the time, weren't looking at huge power, but again, now that we've got turbo 400, there's no reason we can't go 500 plus. So we're gonna chuck these heads on with these springs. I'm not sure what these springs are. They're definitely not pack springs that we normally use. I think they might be PSI, but either way, they should do the job fine. So just chuck these heads straight on, swap them out for the ones that are on there, and reinstall them with their ARP head bolts, and we should be, you know, well and truly fine to make 500 plus wheel horsepower in that tonner, which is going to be a ball of fun. So that's the idea. That's going to be happening over the next week. So that'll sort of be first thing off the bat over the break. I won't be here to film it, but Rex is going to do it. But the plan is just to swap the heads over. He's going to continue on with a few intake things on the ute and try and get a few things done. Not enough for me to try and get him to vlog an episode by himself. I'll just catch up on it on the next episode, but that'll be a little bit happening with the ute. But the plan is just to, yeah, swap the heads, do the intake, and then park it back up for now. So anyway, back to where we were at. Because the ute was taking too long to finish, Rex needed a car. He sort of just took the Falcon back, and in the meantime I had been daily driving the old boy Statesman here. A lot of you may or may not know, but anyway, I was daily driving this just because like we were sort of at a point where, because we live literally just down the road from the workshop, after we moved here there was sort of that many cars just around that were already registered. I sort of just decided that I didn't particularly need my own car. It wasn't really worth the rego that I was paying, or the time or the money. There was enough cars here that I could sort of just do whatever. So I've just been daily driving, borrowing this pretty much just to get run around in, and it's been awesome. But you know, with the missus at the moment looking at doing a bit more work next year, and obviously with my son and stuff like that, sort of got at a point where I wouldn't mind just having my own daily to do a few things with. You know, as you guys know, because of our line of work, we've got so many LS parts lying around that we'd really like to have something to modify. Not only that, but when I talked about doing the Falcon as a daily, I was talking about trying to bring a lot more sponsors and stuff to the channel. That didn't really work out. Granted, I didn't really try that hard, but as these guys know, we do have our own online store. We do sell our own parts and resell parts and stuff like that. And as much as far as are cool and all, they're just not our thing. They're not really what we sell or promote. Really what we sell is a lot of LS stuff, and it would really be nice to have something to modify that we can actually use to promote a lot of the stuff that we sell on our website, and try and get that out there as well. So basically, the way I'm going with it is, if I can't find other people to sponsor it, I'll sponsor it myself. I'll use my shop to sponsor myself for my channel to do my own modifications to things.
Me. I'll sponsor me.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at with it. So that'll bring me to what's going to be happening. So basically with this thing, it's actually, as you can see, it's a really tidy Statesman for its age. Quite low Ks, apart from a little bit of clear coat stuff that's starting to happen. It's actually really tidy. The interior, when it's cleaned up, is really, really clean inside. It's a really, really nice car, and Dad really likes it, so we don't really want to go modifying it and changing it, and you know, basically it's just a really nice car that would be nice to keep it the way it is, especially with the way Holden have been and the way prices have been going. So the plan is pretty much just to leave it the way it is. I think the rojo's up soon. I don't know if we'll pay it, but it's pretty much just going to stay how it is. It's just a nice daily drive car. Brings me down to this Statesman. Now, if you've watched my sort of update on all cars video that I did a little while ago, you would have seen this thing, but this is just another Statesman that we've got. So this was actually Rex's daily drive before the Falcon. So he ended up retiring this thing just because it's pretty old and tired. You know, compared to the other Statesman, this thing's got a lot more Ks on it. It is newer. This is the WK versus the other, the WH. So this is the VY era. So it's a bit nicer inside. I quite like the interior a bit more. But that being said, the interior in this thing is not very tidy at all. It's not in very good condition. It needs a lot of bits and pieces fixed up in it. You know, cup holders are broken. Just about everything that opens and closes is broken. You know, sort of needs a new steering wheel. But as far as the actual trim goes, I just like it a bit better than the other one. But regardless, this thing, the same thing. Apart from some clear coat peel, there are a few panels that just have little dents in them. You know, the bonnet's got this little ding in it here. This guard, pretty sure this guard has a ding in it. There's a few little bumps and bruises, but for the most part it's actually quite straight. And with you know, just a bit of love and care and a coat of paint, it'll actually clean up pretty well. But basically the rundown is that this thing's got a lot more Ks. The 4L60 in it is already slipping, just 4L60 things. It's the sort of thing where you know, it's owned by Rex as well, and we have no problems sort of really molesting the hell out of this thing and modifying it. So sort of decided that we'd just bring it back to life and I'd start using it as my daily. That way I sort of have my own car again. I can do my own modifications to it. I don't have to worry about any of that sort of thing. And we can sort of start using it as a bit of a showcase for a lot of the products that we sell and stock, and doing some dyno testing on a lot of these products. At the moment it's just bog stock. All it has is just a catback exhaust. Apart from that, it's stock under the bonnet. 340,000 Ks or something, I think. So, you know, really good platform to start really just playing around with a few things. So this here is the wagon that was the donor for the LSGU that we built this year. So it actually sat here for a little while after he came and picked up the GU, and his plan was to try and sell it. He sort of had trouble moving it on, and because it was really low Ks and it still got the 4L60 in it, I decided to snap it up just for basically the gearbox. So I essentially bought this off him just for the gearbox, and my plan is to put this very low Ks gearbox in this thing when I go camming it and doing what else I want to do to it. So I'll pull this engine out, we'll freshen it up, I'll go through that in a minute, and we'll put this 4L60 in it, and hopefully it's a bit better condition. In the meantime, once we swap those gearboxes out, I'll probably work on getting another one sort of built. Anyway guys, needless to say, I'll still be treating this the same way as I had said that I would treat the Falcon, in that I do hope it will bring some sponsorship and a few things to the channel, in that we can use it as a showcase to back-to-back dyno results and basically show off people's products and bring sponsors to the channel. So I will still try and do that, but in the meantime there's a lot that I can use this car for, to promote our own store and promote the things that we already stock and sell. So it sort of works two ways for me. So, you know, I'll probably put some real dark tin on it, try and get someone to repaint it for us and straighten it up, or replace the panels that need to be replaced and sort of paint it for us and get it all nice and fresh. Maybe airbags, don't know, maybe coilovers, either way. Slam it, probably look for some different wheels. I'm not a huge fan of these wheels, and this front passenger one does leak, it is cracked, but you know, it'll be a nice thing. Go through and tidy up all the interior, replace all the things that need replacing, you know, upgrade the head unit and stuff like that, and probably put some subs in it. You know, just basically make it just a fairly nice street car, daily drive car. I actually quite like it. I quite like this shape of Statesman. I quite like the look of it, and you know, LS sort of makes all the right noises and everything else, so I'm excited about it. I really am. So at this point you're probably wondering why we ended up with all these Statesmen, so we've got another one over there as well. So back in the day, before the demise of Holden and then COVID sent all these prices ridiculous and all these Holdens, back in the day, Statesmans were sort of like the cheapest way to get a donor car for an LS swap. I don't know what it was about them, but because they were so big and heavy, and obviously V8s, and for a long time their fuel was just ridiculously priced, no one really wanted them. No one really wanted Statesmans. Everyone that wanted LSs wanted manuals. No one really wanted an auto Luxo barge that weighed a ton and used a heap of fuel. And we ended up buying that one, the one that I just showed you that belongs to the old boy, and the other one that's down there. All in the space of 2 weeks, Rex bought all three of them, and every single one of them was less than $2,000 each, and they all had rego. And that's what prices used to be like. And you know, these days you can't even buy an LS1 for that money. It's just outrageous. But essentially the two that we've got here, that one was tidy enough and Rex liked it enough that he decided he'd use that as his daily instead of just parking it and letting it do nothing. And same thing with this one. This one was tidy and nice enough that Dad decided he would turn it into his daily drive. You know, at that point I owned a brand new Navara, the D23, and Dad was daily driving the manual SS that we had, and then I decided to change careers and I had to get rid of my Navara because it was no longer a tax rider for me, so I sold that and I sort of wanted the SS to daily drive, so I took that back and Dad decided to turn this into his daily, and that's pretty much how the story went. And Rex just drove that until it was sort of at a point where he decided it wasn't worth fixing and ended up getting a good price on the XR6 Turbo and bought that and dailied that instead. But now I've sort of decided that that is worth fixing, so we're going to fix it. So anyway, obviously it's at the point where, as much as it's nice to just be able to jump in whatever and not have my own car, at the same time I would really like to just have a car that I can just do what I want to. I had thought about just finishing off the VS and keeping it, but as cool as it's going to be and as cool as Barras are, they're just not really our thing, and like I said, they're not really the products we sell or what we stock and what we're trying to do at the shop, so it makes more sense for us to do an LS. So anyway, it'll be a bit further down the line. There are a few things I want to do with the Statesman first, things like obviously headers and OTR, and do actual back-to-back dyno real world results for what those things add. You know, there's a few things like that I want to do first. Obviously, firstly, just get it on the road and get it registered, but eventually we are going to cam it, and the plan is that the 853s that have to come off the tonner, and we'll swap them out for the 241s. The plan is to use them as sort of a practice or basically an experiment to see if it works. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually weld this up, this notch that's in the 853s. We're going to weld that flat, just build it up and weld it up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to send the 853s away to get CNC ported, and obviously get the faces skimmed flat. And hopefully our weld plus then the skimming flat will mean that those 853s can then be used, you know, for just your MLS head gaskets. So that's the idea. That's what we're hoping to do. Not only that, but it means we get a good set of CNC ported heads, once again on a car that we don't intend to sell. So it doesn't really matter to us that they're 853s. Obviously the 241s do flow a bit better than the 853s, but once they're both CNC ported, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. So I'm more than happy to run the 853s on there as long as they're going to seal and work, and we're pretty sure that once we weld that up and get them faced, they're going to be fine. So not only that, but we do have a Crow Cams 1251 sitting here in the stock room. It was for an engine that we were building that we bought. Sit up the back there. We bought it for an engine that we were building for a customer, but he decided he actually wanted to go bigger. The 1251 is it's a pretty decent sized stick. It's pretty large. You know, I'm a big fan of the 1250 for cathedral ports, but if this thing's going to have CNC ported heads, the 1251's still going to work really well, particularly with the fact that this is an auto. So my prediction is with CNC ported heads, OTR, 1251, exhaust, headers and that sort of thing, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to see pretty close to 400, you know, 380 to 400-ish wheel horsepower. So that Statesman, if you remember, we did put it on the dyno one weekend when we were all on the beers. We started chucking on the dyno and see what it would do, and that was already a bit of a freak. That thing went 277 wheel horsepower completely stock, which is wild for an auto. So there's no reason that with these mods an LS1 couldn't do that. The biggest thing is just going to be, because it's going to be 4L60, we're going to be using quite a big converter with that cam, which is also quite a big cam. So the converter is going to suck a lot of power out. So that's going to be the only reason I'd say that we might not hit those goals. But regardless, it should be a pretty staunch daily. Should sound the part, look the part, make all the right noises, and I'll really enjoy driving it around. So if you step into this stock room, we've got lots of like different manifolds. We've got these profile manifolds here, which we're not really a fan of, but it might be a good opportunity for us to actually do some back-to-back testing and show you how bad these manifolds actually do perform. For what they are, they're not that great. But we do have some OTRs here, but I don't know if any of them are suit early style. And we do have got some pipes here. I'm going to check what exhaust is on that Statesman. I believe it's a twin 2.5, which would be plenty for something aspirated for what we want to do. For something, you know, sub 400 horsepower, twin 2.5 is going to be plenty. We've got this set of extractors here, which I don't know if the Genies are pacemakers. I think the Genies, but either way, we've got headers here ready to go. So, you know, that's ready to go. We've also got two 4L60s down the end here, and we've got two converters, like big converters, as you can see. There's a tiny converter in there. One of them's a 3200. I can't remember whether it's that one or if it's one of the ones we've got up here. I think that blue one back there is also for a 4L60. So one of them's the 3200 converter, which is what we'll chuck in this thing. You know, these extractors are only tri-wires, but we have used, or we've had cars through here with tri-wires with the right cam that have gone 400 in LS1s as well. We had Don't know if you remember it, but I think I titled it, "Is this the best street cam for LS1 so far?" And it was just pacemaker tri-wise with the twin 2.5-inch exhaust, stock port 241s, and the right cam and a manual, and it went 400 wheel horsepower. Anyway, I'm more than happy to run the stuff we've got because it's going to cost us nothing. You know, like I said, the big converter is going to suck some power, but if it's a 2.5-inch exhaust already on it, and we've got these Genie extractors, the tri-wires here, you know, plus that cam and some CNC heads and stuff and an OTR, thing should be freaking cool as. So we've got some spare gearboxes here, so like I said, I'll swap the one out of the wagon into the Statesman for now, just to get rid of that slipping one for now. It'll be a bit happier for the meantime to get driving around, but I do plan on probably either buying a kit to put a kit through one of these boxes ourselves. You know, we have rebuilt auto gearboxes before. We don't do it for other people because we're not good enough at it, but I'll be pretty happy to just do one for myself. See how it goes. Obviously, then if it doesn't work, it's not really a big deal. A bit different to doing them for people. But I don't know, I'll see what our gearbox builder thinks. He might even just want to do one for us, but I will look at getting one built at this stage. We don't have any plans to boost it, so it should be fine just to have a fairly mildly built 4L60 with sort of 400 horsepower and be fine. However, you know, if the day comes that we do want to go down that route, I'll just convert it to 4L80 and be done with it. But anyway, that's definitely a future problem, but that's pretty much the plan with it at the moment. So, you know, those initial mods, not going to cost us a big deal. We buy things like lifters and lifter buckets and stuff. We buy them in bulk and keep them in stock for the shop. So we have all of those parts in stock to just go through and cam it and do all that. It's not going to cost us a lot to do all those initial modifications, but things like getting the paint corrected or repainted, wheels and suspension and that, obviously, that's probably going to be a little while, but pretty excited. I think it's going to be a pretty nice car when it's finished. All right, enough about that for now. The other thing that's going to be happening over the break we're going to have is, as you can see here, we have a box of steam pipe bends. Nice big box of gear. So, for those of you that did watch my sort of update on all cars video that I did recently, I did touch on the twin-turboed LS Land Cruiser that we've got, the 80 series V80. It has been severely neglected for a long time. This exact rebirth was meant to happen literally on our last Christmas break, which didn't end up happening at all. That Christmas break literally didn't happen. At least this year, even though we're still working, we are making sure we're working on some of our own stuff or catching up on other stuff. So anyway, basically, V80, poor old thing. The manifolds that were actually originally made for that when he built it were 409 stainless, and as much as they did really well for as long as they did end up cracking. The heat just got to them. They didn't really work out too well. You know, at that stage, we weren't as knowledgeable as we are these days about turbo systems, fabrication, materials, that sort of thing. So this time around, we're going to make them out of steam pipe. But not only that, we've learnt a lot about that platform, where those turbos are situated and the limitations that we have because of where they are. So we're going to fabricate them this time to a different location in the engine bay, give us a lot more room for a lot more things, allow us to actually build some air boxes, some proper air boxes to get some cool air into that thing. You know, we're going to change a lot of the setup, but essentially all of the manifolds are going to get remade, all of the intake piping is going to get remade, a lot of it's going to get redone, and then the cruiser will finally be brought back to life, because at this stage it's going to be really beneficial for us to actually have a good tow car again. So basically we decided if the ute was going to be still delayed, we're not going to prioritize getting the ute finished. At the very least, we sort of need to have a good tow car. Not only that, but next year I would really like to do a lot more filming of just actually going out and doing stuff, actually getting out and about. One of the big things that we want to do is a lot more forward driving, you know.
The dirt drags.
Yeah, go back to Salubrious Day in the dirt and stuff like that, actually. Yeah, just go out and do a bit more fun stuff. So, you know, if we're going to do more fun stuff, we just have to have more running cars instead of having all of our stuff lying around here broken. So it was just important to us to get the cruiser running. That way we can go out and do some forward driving. We are big fans of 4Bing. We just haven't been into it for a number of years. But with the cruiser, you know, fixed and running, we can actually go do some Land Cruiser Park stuff, go to some 4Bing every now and then, just go have some fun. So that's pretty much what we decided. The ute's going to sit on the back burner. We'll at least get the cruiser done, and that way it's there for if we need it, and we'll hopefully still get the ute done early next year, but at this stage it's not really a priority. So anyway, this is super exciting stuff. It's something that we've been waiting on for a long time. You know, V80 was meant to be really a flagship for us for the channel, and it has, just because of our situation with being so busy. So many people don't even know it exists because it hasn't been on the channel for that long. So we are excited for next year to actually use that car quite a lot more and get it out and about. It's another one of those things where I'm not sure if I'm going to be here to film the start of it when Rex gets started on it, but hopefully I'll sort of be back here before he gets too deep into it, and hopefully we get some good footage of most of the revamp. But anyway, that's the other big thing that's going to be happening over the break. Anyway, unfortunately the break is short once you start factoring in a few of these things like fixing the yellow ute, you know, swapping the heads over and doing that, and then doing what we want to do to the Land Cruiser. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the break all gone. It's probably still going to roll over into next year, but lucky for us, for our January jobs, we actually had a job cancelled, so we actually ended up with a little bit of time in which we hope to obviously finish off the cruiser and then get stuck back into the Barra Beamer a little bit as well in January. So that's the idea. Obviously we still have the HQ to finish off, so that's going to take up a huge chunk of time, but I'm sort of counting on that not getting back here until like middle of January. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, it means that obviously the tonner's still not going to be finished for a little bit, and the VS still is not going to be finished for a little bit. It's another one of those things where we actually do need to spend quite a bit more money to get it sorted, which we don't really need to right now. So if we don't have the time, I'm not wanting to spend the money to get it finished. So it's just going to sort of wait there until we have the time to do it, really. That's the big thing. So hopefully still sometime next year, because we do have a fair bit of money tied up in that, which I do want to get it finished and have some fun and sell it, because we sort of need to get that back. But anyway, that's about it. Once again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you enjoyed this little filler video so that you had something to watch. And yeah, hopefully in the new year we'll be able to, like I keep saying, get out and have some fun and do a few things and go to a few events and make some cool content and not just be here in the shed every single day of our lives. So we'll see how it goes. That's the plan. We'll see whether it actually is going to be implemented or not. And yeah, hope you enjoy your Christmas and New Year's, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.